Guys, thanks a million for joining on today. We have Regina Mangan from Liberty Blue, and we are going to run through some questions, and we hope to make it as entertaining as possible for you. So, Regina, do you want to welcome yourself?
Welcome to myself. Hello, everybody. How long is this chat for, by the way, Kenneth?
I'd say go for 20 minutes.
Perfect. People who know me know I could talk for hours.
Okay, so Regina, how have you really pivoted your business at the moment with all your team, and how have you leaned in with tech?
Well, I suppose we were fortunate that we'd been implementing technology over the last 5 years, and I suppose we've implemented 14 different pieces of tech, and it meant that when everything happened, we were able to pivot quite quickly. So I just had a moment one weekend before things really kicked off that I said we need to close the office to the public. So we did that, and then before lockdown, we were a week in, we had decided that we wouldn't do any face-to-face viewings. So in terms of the technology before lockdown, we started using 360 tours for all our rental properties, where typically we were only doing 360 for sales properties. So we down tools on everything else we're doing, crack on, get the 360s done, and we'd be ready. Then we had a technical glitch with our 360 tours. The company we were using had a problem. They went into overload. Basically, all the agents started doing the same thing. So remember ringing the girls on a Thursday morning when this happened and said, we need to do Facebook Lives fast. Now, actually, Dermot and Maria did the Facebook Lives, had never ever done them before, but they were amazing, because I always say better to get the job done 70% than not get done at all. Just crack on. Now, we did actually overexpose ourselves on Facebook, but it was a means to an end. It meant then when the lockdown did come, we were able to recycle those videos. And I suppose we were set up in terms of pivoting for success. That was one of the questions you asked me during these tough times. I suppose there were three components to that. One was, the first thing is we went into defense mode. Okay, so that was about being in front of the situation where at all possible, and looking. We had a crisis meeting one Saturday morning and said, okay, what are our biggest risks? So the two biggest risks for us were that tenants wouldn't pay their rent, and that we wouldn't be able to rent any properties, and it meant that we would have no income coming in, new income coming in, and that we would be letting our clients down. So we were able to obviously move straight into planning in terms of what we would do with the videos and how we would do the rentals, which I'll talk about in a minute. But the whole communication and using our CRM system, we've acquainted, that's been really, really, really critical for us, because if we don't tell our customers what we're doing or communicate, they will assume we're doing nothing, and they'll assume the worst. So we're able to very, very quickly write to them and tell them what our plan was in terms of rent collections and how we were going to deal with the situation should people advise us that they couldn't pay their rent. As it turns out, in the month of April, only 4% of our tenants ran into problems, okay, and weren't able to pay. And that was because of obviously the government assistance and the various programs that are there. So the crisis management was the first thing, defense mode, just protecting everything. And then it was about communication in terms of our customers, but also the staff, because now everybody's working remotely, and I'm on Ryan in the Gaeltacht, an hour from Waterford City. Maria is in her home, Nora's in her home, everybody, right? And so most of us were able to work. Everybody bar two were able to work from home. And it's been about having those motivational conversations with people.
Brilliant.
And keeping people buzzed up and what the goal is. So the statement that I'd like to share that's really helped me is that focus on the controllables.
Brilliant, yeah.
Okay? do not focus on what you can't control. In other words, focus on your circle of influence. So one of the girls said something about a problem possibly coming down the line. I said, you know what? We can't deal with that because that's actually out of our control. So let's see what we have influence over and what we can do with that. Because otherwise you're going to total panic. And it's to really kind of deal with what we can deal with.
So that's a big difficulty I hear a lot of agents having at the moment is being proactive instead of being this reactive to and sitting down. You guys obviously aren't sitting down. You're working daily. You're talking to your clients. You're dealing with your tenants, and you had the stack of technology that allowed you to then progress on to this stage.
Absolutely. So I suppose, look, in terms of the defense mode, then it was about communication, using the technology to the CRM system to communicate with our customers. Then cutting costs, we have a system called Zero. It's a cloud system. If you don't have an accounts system that's in the cloud, I would recommend that you investigate Zero. It means that we can drill through all our numbers very, very quickly, and all our figures are up to date, and we're looking at figures that are current. So straight away we're able to, outside of wages, we're able to cut our overheads by 20. And now for the months of May and June, we'll be down to 40% cut. So we couldn't do that if we didn't have the correct accounts packaged, the right technology and cloud-based. And then in terms of what we've done to rent, like, it is amazing. We've rented in the last 3.5 weeks, we've rented just over 30 properties.
Wow.
Okay. So we rented over 30 properties without actually meeting anybody. All right. So it was like, we have to. So you put at the end of your of the synopsis for this talk, which I love, begin with the end in mind. So the goal was to rent the properties.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the goal. So what would we do to achieve that goal? So luckily we were set up to help achieve that goal. So the first thing was we were able to obviously use the videos that we had taken on the 360, the ones we did have, use the Facebook Lives video. So we had the adverts, loaded them on the various portals, and then when we were interviewing prospects, we would send them a link to Planet Verify. Now, Planet Verify is a system we cannot be without, because before, when people would send through their information, if they were interested in a property, they would be sending in multiple emails and it'd be all clogged up in the system and you wouldn't know where to look. And again, it's GDPR compliant. A big shout out for Planet Verify. So then if the candidate had appropriate references and it all seemed to stack up, then Maria would do a FaceTime or a chat on Skype or on WhatsApp, and actually chat to them like we are, kind of asked all the questions that
you would ask.
An experienced agent would ask, and that's why people go to experienced agents, because we should know our stuff and ask the right questions. So then we'll assume then the prospect passes the post and they have the right references and the conversation goes well. Then we send them a link to Splink, which we use, which proved to be the best value online payment system, 2 guys in Limerick. So that is really efficient. No transfers into bank accounts, none of that, because it also gives a little welcome to the property. It's all very streamlined, very, very slick.
So it's quite seamless. It sounds like you've got everything talking to one another. You know, yes. The staff know how to use it. So there's not been a massive readjustment in having to train the staff up. They know how to use it. Maybe a slight shift with the Facebook Lives, but you know, we all have to do that with the restrictions and yes. The guidelines that the government have put in place. You talked there about mindset. I kind of want to drill into that because personally, I think it's a massive.
Do you mind if I add a couple of pieces more technology that
save the day? Absolutely. Yeah.
Is that okay? So obviously signable, most agents have that, but fixed flow in terms of maintenance. Now, I don't think too many agents use fixed flow. Now, I'm hoping that Acquaint will integrate that with fixed flow, and that's the plan. But it's a maintenance platform that's linked to our website, and tenants can click on it, upload their maintenance problems, and contractors then can put in their updates on it, and landlords, if you want to give them access, have access to it as well. It is beautiful. And Caroline can work from home, and was working from home 1 day a week, and I told her she could work 2 days a week before the CV-19. So she's already doing maintenance, coordinating all the works for our blocks and our properties. And it's 24/7 in 40 different languages. So all of that process was already in place. We were just doing it in different locations. So in terms of mindset, the third part, I had said defense mode, technology, and then my third part was motivation and learning. So like in terms of motivation and learning, I set everybody a task at the beginning of this I gave them a list of podcasts that they had to listen to every week. And if they found their own podcasts, that's okay. But I then said, I need everybody every Friday to email their learnings from their podcast and what they got from it and any tips or thoughts as a result.
Based, yeah.
We now have one of the girls in accounts who's giving out advice because she's heard Tom Panos, one of the #1 real estate gurus in the world based in Australia. And she's telling us, the girl from accounts, this amazing girl, Katrina, about the things we should be doing after watching Tom Panos. So she's now learning another skill set. So we're improving our skills matrix as well. But the powerful thing that's happened is that they're all coming to work every day remotely feeling revved up. So we're all every day, how are you doing? What's your day looking like? How are you? And like, I was talking one day about the plans that we have. One person said, you sound really excited. She said, I'm really excited about what we've got planned.
Yeah.
So I think the motivation should not be underestimated because everything starts with our head and our focus and our sense of belief that you know, there is a life outside of CV19. It will be different, but there are opportunities out there.
Yeah, that's crucial as well. We're noticing with the guys in the office to really keep them motivated and keep them learning and sharpening the sword as well was another one from 7 Habits that I was looking at, and I was trying to write, what can I try and really put in place so after this we're armed more than we were before going into it.
Absolutely. So like in terms of if everybody shares then, and imagine at the end of it, you have a little booklet you can put together of all the learnings from CV19. What did we learn? But that has really, really helped people in terms of problem solving, in terms of the mindset, in terms of focusing on the controllables and not worrying too much about what is outside of our control.
Are you putting your hand up to create a guide, are you?
I probably will, yeah.
You probably will, yeah. Could be a good ebook.
Could go into, yeah, exactly. So couple of things, right? Like for example, Breffney O'Kelly. So LinkedIn is a great resource, right? It's a great way to meet new people and you can be connecting and asking questions. And like I've spoken to loads of people that I've been chatting to on LinkedIn for a long time, and now we're making calls, Zoom calls. And there's a guy, the exhibition guy, Stephen, great guy to follow. Like he set me a couple of challenges last week after our chat, and I've set him one. So now we're meeting on Friday and we're holding each other accountable for the challenges. So it's great. Fitness for business, I call it. So Breffney O'Kelly was speaking on LinkedIn the other day, and she was giving tips for buyers. Now that was gold. You might say, well, as an agent, I'm not a buyer. Why would I listen to this? In fact, she gave me loads of ideas on how to think from a buyer's perspective and how we can sharpen our saw. Okay. Very, very good podcast. Obviously there's loads of opportunities in terms of Zoom training and skilling up, and that just gets me buzzed up. Now some of them you'd sign up to and you kind of think, oh, I didn't really like that, but that's okay. If maybe 1 out of 3 gives you something, that's a win as far as I'm concerned. And also what I'm finding is I'm getting inspiration from people outside of real estate. So we can learn from other businesses, other industries. We don't have to just be all real estate. At the end of the day, we're here to serve our customers. We're here to provide a solution, and that is to find them a property to rent or to buy, and that's the end game relay.
Yeah, it is really we've got to prepare our customers and serve them as best we can, and not. I was speaking to Sam Hunter in the UK, and he was saying, the biggest thing that estate agents need to do all across the world is serve the customers and communicate with them more now than prior to this. And I think it will really make estate agents and property professionals in all across the world. I think it's bringing us together. I think it is. you're having more conversations with people who you would not have may have had before, because you want to see what they're doing. You're doing research as to how we can pivot, or, you know, so I think it's great. I think the synergy is brilliant between estate agents. You know, yesterday I saw Pat David on a webinar, spoke brilliantly about how the Irish estate agents are doing. So last question, what are your main difficulties you've encountered in this transition?
Well, I suppose massive drop in revenue. That's a huge thing. The fall off. I mean, at the moment, in terms of selling property, you might as well be selling deck chairs, right? So that's sitting stock that can't be sold right now, because I think, for to be honest, people don't buy property online. Like, if they're buying it at an auction, they've typically walked it and seen it. But they're not going to, okay, if we've got sale agreed, hopefully we'll get the rest of them over the line. We had a number of them fall through. I'm optimistic about a bunch of them, and others are gone. That's out of my control, so I'm not stressing over that.
Brilliant.
But that, you know, a lot of it came together. You know, it was a big bang for all of us. The lights were switched off, and it was like flatline. So yeah, and it's just adjusting. Do we know what's going to happen in the future? No. Are we coming into really tough times? Yes. So as we about looking at our costs, it has to be about eating out our process more. And that's where technology will come in.
Yeah.
Like looking at rentals. If we rented properties without meeting anybody or physically going in the property for all those multiple visits, what can we do differently, you know, when all this is over? We definitely will be doing 360s for all our rentals. Absolutely. We won't be able to do open viewings. That won't be allowed until there's a vaccine, most likely. Okay, it won't be appropriate. So we have to change how we do things. In terms of communication, it is very vital. We got a lot. We're ringing all of our property management. We have somebody ringing 15 to 20 landlords a day, and Katrina's doing that from home. And the general census is people are absolutely delighted to receive the call. So if you're listening and you're thinking, I haven't rang my customers yet, all you have to say is, how are you doing?
Yeah.
Is there anything else?
Send a text.
Is there anything that I can do we can do better? Have you any recommendations to help us improve our process? And it's like gold. And lots of people said, oh, we're so relieved that you're looking after our property now. So we have to put a value on our service, because it takes a big burden from landlords to know that somebody knows what they're doing. In terms of planning mode, I would like to say this, that there's a number of grants out there, and I'd like to share the ones that I've availed of, because they're very, very, very valuable. So the business continuity voucher is worth $2,500. So I've secured a great mentor through the business continuity voucher. So I'm working on my plan. The vision and the plan, I've just carved it out since yesterday with Maria and my team. So we know what the plan is now. So now we have to get it all ready. Online trading vouchers. So we're going to get a new website with John Kennedy. Okay, really John. Excited about that. Okay, and then we'll be able to use our our when we get out of this in 90 days, that we have a new website with a slicker model, that we've leaned out, that we can do this with less resources, because if we've got a fall off in income, we're going to have to deal with our resources. And so I suppose, again, focus on the controllables and the circle of influence. Reach out and ask people. And like, my door is open, Regina at libertyblue.ie. I'm very open with sharing the resources that we use, and I'm happy to have a chat, and if I can help, begin with the end in mind and stay optimistic.
Brilliant, Regina, that's great. And thank you very much. I know we're a bit over time, but I hope that was helpful to all the agents watching. And if you've any questions, reach out to us and we'd be happy to share further learnings. Thanks a million, guys. Cheers, Regina, for joining.